Welcome back to the tutorial on rendering the garden bench. Well, here it is. This is the rendered view that we're going to do. Pretty lifelike. Now there's a lot more that could be done here, but just as basically just an introduction to rendering. So we'll keep it fairly simple. I do want to say that before you get started, one thing that you should do is go up to your Vectorworks preferences, Tools, Options, Vectorworks Preferences, and turn the maximum number of undos down. Put it to 5. When you think about what's happening there, Vectorworks was saving 20 copies of 20 moves back from where you are currently, and that takes up a lot of memory. And when we do these renderings, it can take quite a while for these things to actually render. You'll sit there waiting for it, so this will help speed it up just a little bit. All right, well, I'm going to clear this off now, and we'll start with a clean slate. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back now with a rendered version of the garden bench, and this is probably the simplest rendering that you can do. Let's go up and take a look at the rendering settings that we have. So the most basic, of course, is wireframe, where there is no rendering. It's just the outline of the objects. We've got some different options that we can set up here. We can actually sketch our bench. So there's a sketch of our bench, if we would like to have that look. And I'm not going to go into these things too deeply, but I'd like for you guys to, just play around, have some fun with this stuff. They have different settings here. Here it's on rough right now. Let's go to careful, see how that looks, and we can preview it, see if we like it. So that's what careful looks like. So there's our sketching. If we go back to rendering, and by the way, I want to make sure that you know that these settings are over here as well. It's just a little easier for me to show you the settings from this view, since this is the one I'm most used to working with. And it's organized a little differently over here, which I'm definitely more used to. All right, then we have OpenGL, and OpenGL is a pretty fast working rendering mode. Does a pretty nice job. It gets rid of all of the lines around the objects and makes them look more lifelike. So one of the things that you'll need to get used to with rendering is, we want our model to look as cool as it possibly can, but the cooler it looks, the more rendering time it takes to render it. So a lot of times when you're just trying to get a sense of what it's going to look like, OpenGL is great. Or you might want to just use OpenGL for certain types of renderings. Again, we have OpenGL options. We can use textures, use anti-aliasing. Check this to filter the rendering and reduce pixelization or jagged edges. So that'll get rid of your jagged edges, draw edges, use shadows, so on and so forth. Of course, the more things you select, the slower the rendering time. And if we go on down to RenderWorks, we have Fast RenderWorks, which probably at this point doesn't look much different than OpenGL. And we have Final Quality RenderWorks, which also doesn't look much different than OpenGL. And there's reasons for that, because we don't have a ground plane in. We don't have anything for the shadows to fall on, and so on and so forth. So those are the main modes. Let's see what else. Oh, and then there's the Artistic Render Works. Again, this is giving you the sketching options to add sort of an artistic touch to it, make it look like it's more hand-drawn. And then down here are these are sort of the simple, quick and dirty ones. Unshaded polygon, that's the one I did first, where you still get lines. Here's the shaded polygon, so you get shadows. And shaded polygon, no lines, a little more OpenGL like, and final shaded polygon, which brings the lines back and gives you shadowing. I use this a lot for working drawings where I want to maybe give a 3D view, but I don't want to spend a lot of rendering time. I just want to let them know what it looks like, all filled in. So those are your options. Now, what we're going to do with this guy is I'm going to go to Command 5, and I'm going to zoom way out, like 25%, and I'm going to draw an oval, a big oval. This is going to be my ground plane, and I've chosen an oval because when I render this, I want to see some curvature in the ground plane as it relates to the sky, and you will see what I'm talking about here fairly soon. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to extrude this to 1/16 of an inch so that it becomes a 3D object. That way it will, react to the different views that we look in. If I just left it as an oval, it would stay that shape no matter what view I was in. So that's an important thing. And then let's see, let's go to front view. And you can see that the oval is not aligned properly. We need to get it aligned down at the bottom of the legs. So I'll just pull it down. There we go. And now let's take a look at it. And there it is in a sort of modified isometric view. I'm going to move this guy back. And additionally, I'm going to let me go to plan view, go back out again. I want to make the oval make it a little fatter. I'll bring it out here a little bit. There we go. All right. So now let's take a look at the flyover tool. There we are. And I'm going to zoom in. And there you can see I've got kind of a nice sort of horizon line back there. All right. Now we're still in wireframe, so we're not seeing a whole lot of interesting stuff here. But let's go to rendering, which is what we set out to do here. Let's render the background here, the ground level. All right. And what I'm going to do is select the oval, and I'm going to open up the Object Info palette, and I'm going to go over here to Render. Now I'm going to go to Textures, Now you can set up your textures in the class that you're drawing in. So if you had a ground plane class, you could do it. You could set it, use it creation, and boom, it would just be rendered for you. I haven't done that, so we're not going to do class texture. We're going to go down and do, let's see, let's do landscape grass fairly green. How about that? All right, there it is. That's what it looks like. Now let's take a look at the sort of the things that we can affect here with the extrusion. We can just go to the document default, which is careful, which is what we want as far, because we don't want this as a sketch anyway. Overall landscape grass fairly green, top from overall, bottom from overall, sides from overall. Now what this would be if you had a more of a 3D object and you wanted to display the grass on only one of those surfaces. Okay, so just the top or just the bottom or just the sides. We can talk about that more later on. And then we come down to, there's the actual texture that we have. Now, if we click on this little button over here, we can go to the Edit Image Shader. Let's take a look at that. And here we can change the image. We can flip it horizontally, vertically. We can rotate it. We can invert it. With this grass, we don't really need to do very much to it, but I just wanted to show you that we could change the image, but we want to go ahead and use that image. So let's just leave that where it is. And then the scale. If the grass, you know, if we had it way over here, the grass would look too big for it. It would just look out of proportion. It wouldn't look realistic. So we've got it set all the way down here to 1. We'll just see how that works. Actually, let's stick with 1 and we'll see how that works. And let's see, you've got offsets, and we won't worry about that right now. Here's another way that you can rotate the rendered object that you bring in, or the surface that you bring in. Again, here's flip horizontally and vertically. That's what we saw before when we went up here and looked at the shader. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's put this in. It's there. It's good to go. I'll bring this over here. Let's take a look at it. All right, we have all of that set now. But I want to go back and look and just make sure that I have the grass on the right plane. Let's just take a look. I know that I moved it, but there we go. I had a feeling that it was somehow I'd moved it back down. So I'm going to grab this guy and just move it down, basically so that it's touching. There we go. All right. And now let's go to right isometric. There it is. And I'm going to go to the flyover tool, and I'm going to rotate it down a little bit and rotate it around, maybe something like that. Now, we rendered this ground plane to show grass, but if I were to render it right now, you wouldn't get anything. We wouldn't see anything. And that's because my object does not have a fill. So I want to give it a fill. And it doesn't have to be a green fill. It can be a white fill. It could be black. It could be any color you want it to be. But it needs that fill for this this texture to attach itself to, I guess is a good way to say it. So let's see what happens. I just happen to choose, let me select it here. There we go. Okay, so we've got that. And let's go up to rendering, and let's do OpenGL. And there you can see the grass. Now if we go to final quality render works, the grass should look a little more realistic. Now, if we don't like the scale of it, because right now it looks kind of like a wallpaper pattern. You can clearly see these sort of ribs running through here. Let me select this. Let's put in 0.5. See what that gives us. Still sort of getting the same pattern, but we're gonna improve on this as we go on. Okay, so there's your basic grass. Now, what I want to do is I want to give the background here. I want to add a background to it. So I'm going to go up to View, and I'm going to go to Set RenderWorks Background. Right now there's none set. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, let's say sky day, partly cloudy. Let's try that out and see how that works. Okay. We'll let it render. Now you get a sense of how long it takes for these things to render. Every time you move it, every time you change anything on it, it has to re-render. So that's why you typically don't want to do a lot of rendering until the very end of the project. You want to get everything just right and then render it. All right, it's coming along. The big moment is almost here. Now, I'm going to rotate this down. It's going to have to re-render. I'll speed it up for you. Alright, so we're going to leave it right there at this point. Now what I'm going to do is go back to my tool sets, and I'm going to go to the Heliodon tool. Now, this is a tool that allows us to set the time and date and the place, so that you can get this to model exactly where you want it to. So I'm just going to double click on it. It's going to have to re-render there just a little bit. So let's do this. Settings. Let's set it for the USA, of course. Let's set it for Portland. Let's set the time. I'm going to go on the 24-hour clock. Set the time for, now it's going to re-render. This takes a little bit of time. I didn't change it. Alright, we're getting near the end of the rendering. Yours may take longer than mine. I've got a pretty smoking fast Apple Tower here that I'm working on. And this is slow, but I'm on a fast computer. So let's change the time to 12 noon. And let's make the day, whoops, now I can't. Things should get, the shadows should change. We're almost finished rendering here. And look what happens. We end up with what looks like maybe the Pacific Ocean back there, and then some beautiful clouds. So that's one of the more realistic looking renderings that we can do. Alright, we have one more thing to do to our garden bench, and that is to actually render it. Right now it just has a, it looks white, I guess. So let's do that. I'm going to go to Command 5 and go back down to the 2D vision of this thing, and I'm going to keep it in wireframe for right now. Actually, let me I'm going to crank it up here so I can see it a little bit better. Alright, there we go. Now we want to make sure that all of these objects have a fill, so just make sure that they do have some sort of a fill. I'm just going to select everything here, and there's the fill that I used for everything. Okay, and that worked for my so I used the final shaded polygon using that color. But now we want to actually render it and give it make it look like wood. All right, so let's do this. Let's just select everything here. Select the entire bench since we want it all to look the same. And let's go to the Object Info palette, and let's go over here to Render. Again, we're going to do sort of the same thing we did last time with the ground plane. And we're going to go to I want you to go all the way down to the bottom of the list, and you'll see Wood 014 Cherry European. And click on that. Alright, now let's look at our model and just see how that looks. And for now, I'm going to turn off the rendering on the ground plane so it doesn't take so long to render. And let's go to let's go to OpenGL. Okay, now take a look at the wood here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Now we've got grain going in all kinds of directions here. So what I'm going to do is select these. Let's see, let me make sure. There we go. Let's see. Let's select this. Let's select this guy here and here. I'll get those 4 done. And what I want to do is rotate the grain. Now watch. I'll just rotate it, and you can just type in 90 degrees. Alright, so actually I only grabbed 2 of them. Let's change that to 90. Let's see, let me get these 2. Alright, change that to 90 degrees. It looks like the arms are incorrect. So let's rotate them 90 degrees. There we go. And it looks like these boards here are going the wrong, grain's going the wrong direction, so I'll select all of them. Actually, I don't want that one. Yeah, I'm having a hard time getting it. I'll get it from a different view. Alright, and we'll rotate those 90 as well. And then let me grab this guy here. There we go. And 90 degrees. Alright, it looks like our legs are good. Let's just change one of these and see what it looks like when we change it, if we can tell any difference. Yeah, that was going the right way. Okay, so our legs are good. We can also change the scale. Let's get one of these boards here so we can really see what's going on. And let's change the scale. so you can see what's happening there. That actually maybe looks a little more lifelike. And maybe what we do is we sort of change these guys so that they're not all the same, which should give it maybe a more realistic look. So that each board looks different. All right, well I'm happy with that now. And so that's sort of the basics of rendering. You can, it's just amazing what you can do with these things. There's actually more. There's more that you can do, of course, as always. But for now, I think we'll just stick with that and call it good. Let's go back to our ground plane and let's give it that solid fill again, and then our grass comes back. And add our background back in, and there we have it. All right, well, that's a small little tutorial on rendering. There's so many possibilities here, so many things that you can do, and we're just scratching the surface. But it's a start, so let's keep moving. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.